big green button.
Let's hit the button.
And we're back.
Press it. Do it. Hey, everyone.
Here we are. Hello, we're back again with the
We're
StatrCast.
back. We are back. And happy Bastille to anyone who is French, or Bonne Fête Nationale à nos auditeurs français.
Olivier Giroud, baguette, oui.
Absolutely.
Sure.
We'll take the opportunity, as always, to mention our Lord and Saviour, Olivier Giroud, the best-looking footballer ever to grace a football pitch.
Je comprends pas le français, c'est trop difficile. And a very happy Bastille Day to everyone except Thierry Henry, the cheating handballing bastard.
Yes.
Cool. Anyway, we have lots to talk about because obviously the app is now painfully close. So we have big news on this podcast. We're actually debuting, milking our new point system. Oh yeah, that's what I'm going with. Don't go ahead. Milking. Yes, that's what I'm going with. We're also going to talk about Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, and the European debacle. And then, of course, we have the GVC, where this week we are looking at Burnley and Newcastle to see who you should pick, who you should absolutely avoid, and who are the outside bets of being useful players for fantasy football this season.
And just before we get to that, if anyone else have any opinions before we get to the GVC, as always, put them in the comments. We will get to them when we get to the GVC.
100%. Actually, do you know what? Probably a good time to do this, right? So before we jump into everything, obviously the app is really close. We're doing some final testing, some final tweaks, some final modifications under the hood, if you will. So we're going to be there. It's going to be happening. If you're not on the waiting list, make sure you do it now. Time is running out for that, so we're going to be sending out the app, the invite code. Everything is going to be getting done over the next few weeks, so do that. I'm aware a lot of people haven't ever played fantasy football draft before, especially the way we do it, where it's head-to-head. It's utter carnage, where we love the game and despise each other, I suppose. And it's very much a case of, over the next few weeks, I'm sure people are going to have questions about how to play, how to do one over their mate, how do I draft, how do I drop a player, swap a player, any kind of questions like this. So I'm going to just put it out there now. If you have questions, drop a comment, send us messages. We'll probably do a live maybe the week before the season and do and ask me anything and just shoot the breeze, let's say. Answer all the questions that people have before the season starts, because we're like a month out.
Particularly if you want to know how to screw over your fellow players.
Gary is your man for how
if there's a loophole to be found, I will find it and I will exploit it.
Yeah. So we're exactly a month out to the day from the Premier League season. So I guess, Jimmy, it's a wonderful time for you to come out of your cave.
Yes, soon I will be allowed to
show everybody what you have been building for a decade.
About that, yeah. We've been tweaking, we've been refining, we've been making little adjustments. And what we have come up with, I think, is going to blow some minds, because we talked a minute ago. Okay, we'll go to defenders first, clearly. But we talked a minute ago about all of those people that haven't played fantasy football before. There are an awful lot of people who have. And over the years, you will have noticed maybe that the point system is super simple. And that's not a bad thing. It means it's easy to understand. 2 for a goal, unless you're a midfielder. 5 for a clean sheet. 1 for a yellow card, lose 3 for a red card. But the thing is, it's really limited and it's really, really attacker friendly. And the bonus point system is where the really good players get their points, but that's also doubled into by who gets goal involvement. So what if the game was all about the bonus points? What if the game was all about actual performance and actual play? And so we have built this. And this is our point system. We have been absolutely itching to get it out there to show you. So what we're going to do this evening is we're going to very quickly go through each of the positions so you can see what are the key stats that you might not have seen before, some that will be familiar. Starting at the back, tackles are good, as are interceptions. We like when our defenders get in the way of the other guys doing stuff. Last man tackle is the next one down. That's if you're the last man back and stop that moment of disaster, you're getting points for that. Clean sheet is 7 for a defender, which is quite heavy. But remember, folks, the last 2 years, clean sheets have been getting more and more scarce. Yellow cards are minus 1.5 because sometimes if you're the lad at the back, they come with the territory. Letting a goal in is minus 2 because what are you doing? Stop that. That's bad. You're not supposed to let them do that. Come on. Block scoring attack, throwing your body in harm's way. We all know how that goes. Crosses, yeah, little bit of points there for the work. Nothing too dramatic. Unfortunately, it's -7 for a red card. Now, this might seem really harsh for people who are used to -3, but bear in mind, an average to good player should be scoring 8 to 10 if he has a good game. So a -7, it's going to sting. I've seen players go all the way down to -16. Red card and an own goal in the same game. But anyway, minutes played. This is one of these ones that beyond any position we wanted to fix, because what has been happening since the dawn of forever next door is that if you have a midfielder who doesn't score or get a clean sheet or an assist, if you have a midfielder who's just a midfielder, you bite your nails at 59 minutes, because at 60 minutes, now he's 2 points instead of 1. And if that's not the most oversimplified thing I've ever seen in my life, I don't know what is. So what we're doing instead is we're giving 0.1 or 0.01 of a point for a minute played. So you get 0.9 for 90 minutes, 0.8 for 80 minutes, 0.7 for 70 minutes. For two reasons. First of all, it's not as simple as you're either 1 or 2. And secondly, it's not very big. Minutes played doesn't mean a whole lot if you're not doing anything. But as you can see, if you're doing anything, we're giving points for it. On we go. Penalty conceded, -0.25. Because what are you doing, man? Don't put the goalie under that kind of pressure. Aerial 1.5, because we like those big centre halves that knock it away. Key pass 1.5, because if that's coming from the back, fair play the defender. And a clearance is a 0.25 point, because honestly, as Roy would say, that's their job. They're not getting a whole pile for that. So that's defenders. There's a lot in there, and you can see all of this.
Yeah, I was going to say before we move on there. So essentially, like what you'll see throughout our model here is that we're looking at what, very much as Jimmy said, Roy Keane it. What do they do? What is their job on a pitch? And the defender's job is essentially each of these metrics. So, and it changes depending on the style of defender. So an old school battering ram with James Tarkovsky and Nathan Collins, they're picking up points. They're making the blocks. They're making the interceptions. They're making the big lunging last man tackle. They're making the clearance. On the flip side of that, you've got like an Anthony Robinson, a guy who's getting up the wing, whipping and crosses. So essentially, regardless of the type of defender you have, they're all on a level playing field, so that as long as they're actually a functional player, they're doing their fucking job, as you might say, they're getting points. And as Jimmy said, over in other places, any of the competitors, this is a big part of the reason why we made this in the first place. It was because when you're picking defenders, you're picking wing-backs. For years, is it Trent, is it Kyle Walker, is it Kieran Trippier? And if you're not picking them, you're up to an absolute height into nothing, and it's a pointless experience. Like,
it's more tactical options. It's more strategic choice. It's more players are now viable because there's more ways for players to contribute. Centre halves exist, DMs exist, CMs exist, and goalies can do more than just keep clean sheets. And in case anybody's freaking out going, hang on a second, Jim, there's no goals there. There's no assists. There's no aerial crosses. They're in there as well. These are the key defender stats. These are the stats that are going to determine the good and bad defenders. Sure, if a defender starts getting 15 goals, he's going to do well. We're not going to stop him getting points for goals. In fact, we'll reward it extra. You'll see more on that later on. But these are just the key stats you want to be looking at when you're picking your defenders. And with that in mind, the closest thing to them is the lads standing right behind them. My friends, the goalies, the big, angry, scary men.
Jimmy, before we get there, can I just ask a quick question? Because this might be something that comes up. So, in theory, if a player gets a straight red card, that's -7. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
2 yellows equals a red. How does that work? Is that -3 or just straight to the -7?
Straight to the -7.
Cool.
Yeah, we're not going to go -10 as if 2 yellows is worse than a straight red.
Yeah.
Because that would be crazy.
That would be crazy. Right? That would kind be absolutely crazy.
Won't lie, a little bit fun, but crazy.
But crazy.
Straight red is the worst. So we'll stay that way. But good question. And for goalies, it's an awful lot of the same metrics. The only difference is goalies do some things that defenders don't do. If you've never watched or heard of football, goalies can use their hands. So if they make saves, they're getting points. If they get clean sheets, it's a full 9 points. 9 points is a huge number because it's so rare and it's so down to the man between the sticks. Yeah, we've got yellow cards. Penalty saves, another big one. There's not many of them. They're really, really rare, but when they happen, they're something special. So we're rewarding them healthily. Penalty conceded points there as well. Aerials, one, very important. I'm imagining Nick Pope jumping out over a corner and pulling the ball out of the air and taking it to him, and how the other game does not reward the shutting down of set pieces. We do. We know what we're at. You're going to love it. Dispossessions are in there as well. And the reason dispossessions are in there is because I am sick to death of watching Premier League goalies being asked to run the ball out and be two-footed passers for central defenders just because somebody likes the idea of WM football for the last 5 years. But what they do well is for passes completed. If they do it right, they get points. It's pretty simple, really. On we go to the midfielders. And here we get into some more familiar territory. You're going to see goals, you're going to see assists, you're going to see key passes. Now, if anybody's wondering what a key pass is, that's a pass that lines up a shot. An assist is a pass that lines up a goal, but a key pass is a pass that lines up a shot. Because, hey, my midfielder did his job. It's not my fault that Haaland can't put it in the back of the net for the first 4 months of the year. More on that when we reach Man City. Shots on target. Wanted to talk about this. We're giving shots on target points to midfielders and forwards for maintaining the pressure on the goalie. Because if you can break the goalie's mind, you can win the game. But we're giving a little bit extra to defenders and goalies for shots on target and for shots in general. And I'm going to tell you why, right?
Let's go, Guardiola.
Because it's hilarious. Even a missed shot, it's hilarious. Like if a goalie or a defender is taking a shot and it's on target, brilliant, well done them. But a shot that's not on target, we're still giving points to defenders and goalies. And the reason is, after all the analysis and after all of the surmising and the logic and the maths, I stopped for a second and thought about how bloody glorious it is when a Lewis Dunk or a Virgil van Dijk, the ball breaks at the edge of the box and he thinks in a split second, there's no one else on this pitch has this opportunity, and he wellies it into row fucking Z. And both teams' fans applaud because that's not your job, boy, but you gave it a go. So we're going to give shot points to the backs and the goalies as well, just for the lols to keep it fun, because not everything has to be heavy. Tackles are still there for midfielders because tackles are tackles are tackles. It doesn't matter where they happen on the pitch. Interceptions have a slightly higher value in terms of attacking because of how they can turn the other team around. So, you know, much more familiar stuff there again. And then we get
But again, before we move on from there, what you're seeing there is over in the other place, goals were at like 5, assists were at 3, this, that, and the other. The point system is a lot higher over here. We're using, so again, by having this variety of players and variety of metrics, that means you're able to pick different style of team. Like if you want to have players that are all runners, Gucci, go do your thing. If you want a team of tiki-taka peppy ballers that just are going to get pass numbers and stuff like that up, go, Joe, do your thing. You can blend, you can mix and match, you have options, but you can see as the points work, if a forward does their job and does it well, 9 points a goal, 6 an assist. The more goal involvements, the more points. They're getting heavy weighted on the points of where they do their job.
Yep. Every position is going to be playing in position, you know. We're going to reward them in position too. On to the strikers, and I know we give out a lot about strikers around here because they've been heavily overweighted and then they don't exist next door. But we've kept things mostly as per normal. Goals and assists are where it's at. We're deducting points if your goal came from a penalty. And this one's going to be controversial. We're giving fewer points for... Now, these are not final values. There's a couple of little tweaks need to be made here. But we're giving fewer points for a goal scored from the spot than we do from open play. Or to put it another way, before everyone freaks out, we're giving more points for a goal from open play than we do from the spot.
So in this scenario, it's 6 points for a penalty and 9 for a goal from open play. Am I reading that right?
I think we actually landed on 7 for an open play for a forward because these numbers have been reviewed 400 million times and changed.
I'm not going to lie, that's probably me. I was doing some article. Probably missed it.
But that's the logic.
It's okay. It's okay. That's the logic.
That's the logic, yes.
And it's not to punish spot kickers. It's to address an imbalance where they have benefited unfairly. I'm again going to point to the obvious two, who's Cole Palmer and Mo Salah, who are getting clean sheets points as defenders, even though they're mids, even though they're both forwards. They're getting spot kicks. They're getting points for drawing the penalty as well through bonus, which is absolute bullshit. Oh, you got tripped up. Oh, you convinced them you got tripped up. Well done. Quit your diving. Get off the pitch, Cristiano. Nobody wants to see it. Put your top on, you moron. Anyway, spot kickers have been heavily overweighted for a while now, and we're going to rebalance that. Now, again, the scale is much, much different than what you're used to. When you see -2, you think, oh my God, that's what I get for yellow cards. No, it's not the same here. You're still, your goal scoring spot kicker is still going to get a lot of points for you. He's just not going to get that little leg up for doing what is ultimately a coin toss.
I suppose the difference between a penalty goal and a goal is what in other places what they would call bonus points.
Yeah.
For want of a better explanation.
Well, this is it. It's about making the bonus points real and stripping back the oversimplicity.
Yeah, well, it's fair. I mean, the expected conversion rate on a penalty is much higher than it is from a standard clear-cut chance. So,
yeah, it's a little bit easy mode for the striker, so we're not going to reward it extra the same. Key pass is still there, minutes played are still there, but then we get into the weird stuff. This is where the real creativity has been, as far as I'm concerned.
You're going to have to zoom into that for me. I am bland as shit.
Because what you can see there is we've covered over an awful lot of this. We're still giving a little single clean sheet point for the midfielders because fair enough, they've done something. You know, that's fine. Penalty conceded by a midfielder or a striker, I don't mind. You know what? I don't mind. Because honestly, it's the defenders and goalies need to know how to not do that. They're both going to get punished on the goal going in anyway. Aerials one, we've given priority at the back, already covered that. Clearances are worth more if they're done by a striker or a midfielder, because in much the same way that we have talked a lot on this podcast about how much we love defenders and how underrated they are. But I also think there's an underrated thing that happens where a really hard-working striker gets back and gets stuck into defense when he needs to. And that's a really positive thing for me. So we're rewarding that quite handsomely with an extra.
I suppose that would be the likes of your Strand Larsens, the likes of your Matetas, these guys who get back into the box for set pieces, clean out the shop, and then break their nuts to get back up the pitch. So if they clear it and they get their aerial duel, they do their interceptions, they do that backline work, they deserve to be rewarded for it. So it's not like a God give it, God take it away situation here, like where we're going, oh yeah, let's promote defenders to tank forwards. It's not that. It's
not that. No,
it's literally about what does a defender do? What does a midfielder do? What does a forward do? It's so logical, and trust me, the second you start playing, the second you create relief and you look at the different ways your defenders can make points, your midfielders can make points, you're going to find a Norgard, you're going to find a Shade, a Hinchelwood, and you're going to find, trust me on this, the players that have, like, I suppose, taken our hearts down the years in the 10 years that we've been playing amongst ourselves, the George Boyd, the Chris Smalling, the Eze, the random ass fellas that do a season of godly stuff at the team they're in. The sleeper agents, these are the guys that when you play in our model and you start seeing these, you're going to look at someone like an Alex Iwobi and go, oh shit, he's actually not bad.
Except nobody likes Fulham. Two last tiny little things before I stop shouting numbers at the wonderful public, and thank you for sticking with us this far. I wanted to show you two silly little scenarios down here. Offsides and fouls. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking deductions for offside. Oh no, what about every striker in the Premier League? We're not taking points off strikers for being offside. We're not taking points off mids for being offside. But in all honesty, if a defender or your goalie is offside, get your fucking house in order, lads, right? We're taking a quarter point off you. And at the other end of the pitch, for fouls, not carded fouls, fouls, we're going to give nothing for the goalies or defenders because sometimes you just got to put a fella down. Thiago Silva, how are you? Tactical fouls are a thing. They're fine at the back. But if you're getting pulled up and fouling out front, you're Diego Costa. And I really don't like Diego Costa. So deductions at the back if you're up too far, deductions at the front if you've decided that you're a centre half. Again, it's all about not only what John said and what's their job, but what do we want to reward or punish when they go outside their job? I'm not saying we've anything against total football, but frankly, if I'm Arnie Slot, I don't want to see Mo Salah going in with studs up with 2 feet because I don't think he's going to do as good a job of not getting sent off as Virgil van Dijk will. So that's our point system. There's a lot in there. You can see it all in all its glory at StatrDraft.com. You can also join the waiting list there. What we have done also because it's all well and good looking at statistics, but they don't tell you who's been scoring them. So what we have published is the top 5-ish players in little lists for each of those data points. Well, there was one in particular that there's only one entry, but I won't spoil that for our readers. If you head on over to StatrDraft.com, there is a little bit more data on the stats, a lot more information on who the players are that shone on each of these. You will be amazed at some of the names. You will see guys who are finishing as the best at this particular facet of football for the whole season, whose names are never mentioned in FPL. These are the guys you want to be drafting quickly because you will get a zillion points out of them and nobody realizes they're there. You will if you go to StatrDraft.com.
Do you know what? It's the guys that the second you see it, the second you look at that article, I promise you, you will get a bit more of an understanding. It's when you see the guy that has the most interceptions in the Premier League last year. And I can guarantee you, most people here wouldn't be able to guess the top 3. I'm sure every one of us can at this point because we've been down that rabbit hole too many times.
But it's those sleepers, we've said plenty of times, it's those sleeper guys who win you yearly.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always taken the ship of Theseus approach. Is it Theseus or Perseus? I think it's Theseus. It's the one where they take a plank and then put back a plank and then take a plank and then put a plank. And is it the same ship? I started the season, or finished the season with 3 players that I had at the start of the season because I'm a who's on form, who's doing well. Give me the data. What's happening now? What's new? But I tell you, those first 3 weeks, like there's a rule of thumb that if a player is performing for 3 weeks and nobody's picked him up, grab him, unless they've had like 3 relegation teams to play against. Those first couple of weeks, you can't wait around 3 weeks. Madison springs to mind. I picked up Madison in like week 2 last year.
Yeah.
It's like you got to watch what's happening early and it can change very, very quickly before things settle down and hope to fuck that yours is the guy you keep. And these stats, what we've got on that article is not going to tell you who to pick, but it's going to tell you who to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Questions?
So many questions.
Fire away.
Honestly, I think it's one of those ones where just look at the different players, look at the data, look at all the resources that are on the website. The app is going to be there in a couple weeks' time. When you get your fingers on it, when you get your hands on it, you're going to have a bit more of an understanding of what we're up to. Trust me, organize a night with your buddies. Get a few beers in, get your pizzas, get your Chinese, whatever, get your snacks. Hop on a Zoom call if all the lads can't be together. Just sit down, have a laugh, pick your football teams, give it a go. Give it a go. Because I can promise you, the second you try to dump an injured Nathan Ake after an international duty and he's got an ACL injury and you dump him on your Dean, watch the group chat go off. Watch the hatred.
The feeling of satisfaction is unparalleled. It really
when
is.
Somebody makes a transfer 5 minutes before and it's Cole Palmer going to Jimmy's brother 5 minutes before the transfer window. Watch your group chat go off. When alliances form and rivalries grow, it's all mental. So
you can still see the pain in Jimmy's face there. It's great.
Just give it a go.
I didn't win anything last year, but that was my biggest success.
Basically, we're kind of like UEFA. It's all about corruption and collusion. And that is how I'm going to segue over to.
Smooth.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Do you remember when we started this just over a year ago and I was so like, don't say anything controversial, and you just said corruption and threw a legal allegation at UEFA on a broadcast? That's carry on.
Alleged.
Alleged. Thank you. The magic word. Yay.
Alleged. Anyway, Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace have had a bit of shenanigans. Honestly, this might be one of the wildest stories I've ever seen. You have Nottingham Forest looking to buy Lyon players so that they could get Lyon reinstated back into Europe. You have Lyon suing the French League and UEFA and getting their position back. And somewhere along the line, Drogheda United got involved. So who the fuck knows? It's just... Oh yeah, the whole thing's wild.
It's absolutely correct, Jimmy. It's correct. So
okay, so stop me when I go wrong here, okay? The basic problem here was Palace won the cup, which gets them in theory into Europa, but there's partial ownership crossover between them and Lyon. And then Lyon, was there some sort of issue with them domestically that they got relegated?
Lyon OF. load of money, and they owe
Right.
an absolute truckload of money. So they basically got kicked out of League One, relegated.
But that was overturned, which put them back into Europa.
Well, it was overturned
in
because they
Palace.
sold a couple of players. They had been selling a couple of players, but we'll say there was the last deal that they got over the line that would have just about put them onto the financial footing to stay in the league. Took like an extra day or two to go over the line. So they basically were like, this was a paperwork piece, like that semantics, stop being shit. Got reinstated. You literally had Nottingham Forest bid on 3 or 4 Leon players in that time frame, thinking that would be enough because the money difference from Forest being in the conference to into the Europa would have been worth the 20 odd million to sign a random Leon player to put Leon back into the green, back into League One, back into Europe. So that your man that owns Forest could sit back and go, oh, well, I love law and I love suing people and I'm going to get my way again because I'm pure class. And it's just... And what's even better is Palace won their cup. Leon finished 6th, but because Leon finished higher in their league than Palace, then there you get the position.
They get reason.
Even though I'd be like, well, I think the guys that win the cup that get a trophy kind of maybe warrant their position. So I don't know. It's all mental.
It's mad. It's mad. Like, we had this conversation about Palace recently, and we all thought that because City and Girona, for example, there was nothing happening there, even though multi-ownership for the Champions League.
Leipzig and Red Bull Salzburg.
Yeah, there's like multiple examples of this happening at bigger clubs. And then the writing was on the wall for Palace when the same thing happened to Drogheda United within the last month, where they've been expelled from the Conference League for the exact same reasons, even though they won the domestic cup, but because they finished lower than Sikkelborg, who play in Denmark, and they're both owned by the same conglomerate. Drogheda United were kicked out. The same thing with Palace just happened. Now, it's bullshit. I can't understand why it's happening or what's going on with it. But yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you the rundown. So because if basically for clubs so they tried to start cracking down on this multi-club ownership over the last year to 18 months, because you have got like the Manchester City group, you've got the Ineos group now, you've got Everton, you've got so many clubs that basically most Premier League clubs own 2 or 3 clubs, essentially. Well, the owners who own Premier League clubs own 2 or 3 clubs. Like Nottingham Forest, there's 4 clubs in their syndicate, I think, at this stage. 3 your man. He owns a club in Greece. He owns a club, I think, somewhere out far east or something like that. They own a couple of random teams around the place. And because your man, there's a guy, John Texor, who would have been one of the lead shareholders in Leon, but he would have been a minority shareholder in Palace. He wouldn't have been a day-to-day influence, we'll say, on the operations of Crystal Palace. He's just a financier. Not very much in the same vein as, we'll say, like Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos across Nice and Man United, where there's a lot closer ties with the likes of Jim Brailsford and stuff, who was across both clubs over a year-long period. You would have had 2 very different places, 2 very different models. They just happen to have the same guy who's thrown a few quid into their bank account and gone, yeah, pay me back later, lads. So they're not even the same extent as a Girona Man City or a Red Bull Salzburg and RB Leipzig. It's just, I can't understand it. The only reason it's one of those ones that if it wasn't Palace and it was a Man United, if it was a West Ham even, or a Newcastle with like a bit of historic clout in Europe, Palace are the new boys at the table who almost have their paw out, and like Forest in Europe have more of a history than Palace. So even they'd get more credence and credibility in this argument with UEFA, kind of going, yeah, but, you know.
It's Nottingham Forest. Come on. Yeah, no Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Nottingham Forest can sit there and go, like, we've won it a couple of times. Like, you want us back. That's the storyline.
Yeah. But it's, look, this whole multi-ownership thing, the management of it by UEFA is a complete clusterfuck. It's an absolute clusterfuck, because it just seems to be one set of rules for the bigger clubs and one, as you just said, John, for the smaller clubs. It's best thing to do is just throw the whole thing out the window and go, if you're owning 10 clubs and you're developing them to the point where 10 clubs that you own are actually at a level that they can all compete, fine, let them all compete. But if we find that you're doing some underhanded shady shit in the background, we're going to kick all 10 clubs out. But this crap of, oh, we're going to, we're going to punish someone like Palace. who have worked their whole off, to be fair to them, to get to where they are, and then all of a sudden, just on a whim, on a technicality, they're getting kicked out of Europe.
So here's my thing with this, right? Because I get what you're saying about open season, and if we catch you doing wrong, we'll throw you all out. But I think it's a lot easier to keep that from happening by not going open season in the first place. So I get the UEFA logic on paper. In terms of Palace, though, like, did they not know who owned them?
No, you see, what happened was up until March the 1st, clubs that were going to be competing in Europe, let's say, would have had to register their board, their controlling stake, this, that, and the other. Palace didn't really think they were going to be in Europe, so this multi-club ownership thing wasn't actually going to be a concern for them until they got to the FA Cup final.
Sorry, the FA Cup final was in May. What round were they in March?
March would have been the fourth round.
Round 3 or 4,
Okay, fair enough. I'm a firm believer in due diligence, boys, and it sounds like they were caught with their pants down a bit because they knew who owned them. We all knew shared ownership was an issue. They didn't expect to be in Europe. They didn't expect to win the cup. Fine. What would it have cost them to look into this before?
Because your man Texter has actually been actively selling his shares as well. The guy that's in question as being a minority shareholder, he's currently in the process of selling his shares to an American syndicate. So he's been actively exiting since about February, March anyway. So again, this adds another layer of complexity to it. So he basically has already, like, because of the shit show at Lyon, we'll say, during the year, he stood down from them already, and he had been in the process of selling his shares in Crystal Palace. So, no.
Okay. And but
at the time of speaking, he is still technically a shareholder in both clubs.
But I'm just thinking about knock-on effect here, because, okay, Palace have been removed from Europa and gone to Conference.
Yes.
And Lyon have gone to Europa. Was that Lyon's Conference spot that Palace took?
Yes. And then
someone else lose out.
Well,
actually, Drogheda come into this.
Sorry, they take Nottingham Forest's spot, and Forest get bumped up to the Europa League to fill the quota.
Okay. And where did Drogheda fit into this?
They also
on
pre-season.
Yeah, gone.
Just gone.
Yeah, because there's nowhere they could be demoted.
Oh,
because they qualified for the Conference League.
That's massively unfair. That's nonsense.
Yep.
I imagine football people are angry about this.
Yes, there is uproar about this.
And again, a team like Drogheda, we're talking that the stakes here at the table, like, they're not going to be at the same extent as a Man City and Girona type situation. We're going to say that the guy who has a stake in Drogheda, we're probably talking $500,000.
Yeah.
Not a $50 billion club sale. And it's like, you're really going to kick him out of Europe because this fella's like essentially gave him a 5-year loan.
Yeah. But the stakes for a club like Drogheda are a lot higher, because if they do put together a run, then that's massive investment on a relative level. For something like this to happen to even to a Crystal Palace, it's relatively small. To a small club like someone like Drogheda in the League of Ireland, it's huge.
Well, to Palace, this is actually huge because it's the first time they'd have
revenue
stream. It means
in relative terms, it's probably smaller. But to be fair, you're right; it is still big for Palace. But if let's take it even further, if it was to happen to City with Girona in the Champions League last year, for example, in relative terms, whatever City would have brought in the Champions League, it's a tiny percentage versus the amount of money that a Drogheda United will bring in. Yeah, it could be half their wage bill for the year, for example.
I mean, it's.
I understand that, but I suppose from a Palace situation, they don't even know, like, we'll say, their revenue projections for next year. If we're talking like a club facilities thing, the money that they're going to get in from Europa League versus Conference League, that is so significant in terms of their sponsorship activations, in terms of their gate revenue, in terms of their TV times, in terms of their scheduling and operational costs and stuff like that. But then let's look at the football side. They don't know how to do their squad building right now in the middle of July, because they don't know essentially whether they're building a squad for the Conference League or Europa League, and they can't really go buy players even at the moment pending this court case, because they can't go and invest money that they don't necessarily have yet. If they're in the Europa League, they can go spend 100 mil. But if they're in the
Yeah.
conference, they can probably spend 50, which that changes then the state of play with them having to sell players, which also then changes the state of play with them having to bring in players, which is why you have players like Gary who is still at Palace because they can't do anything until this is.
But it changes as well the status of, or the quality of player that you're going to be targeting.
Yes.
Because, players will want to play in the Europa League. There's a chance to get the Champions League. Okay, fair enough. And there's no way Palace are winning the Europa League, but you never know.
They could win the conference.
They could win the conference, that's fine. They could win the conference, absolutely they could. But what I'm saying is if you're in the Europa League, the quality of player that you can potentially attract to your club is higher than it is if you're playing in the Conference League.
Absolutely.
And as John said, trying to plan for when you don't know for certain what competition you're going to be playing in. It's plain unfair, to be fair.
If you're the kind of young player, and I know Crystal Palace's recruitment is very, very local and very vertical, but if you're the kind of young player that traditionally are the type they actually buy in, and you're looking for maximum exposure, you'll definitely want Europa over conference. Definitely.
Well, let's use an example of like Elise a couple of years ago. If they were in the Europa League, they maybe could have held him for one more year. You have Eze right now. Let's say Eze, Arsenal are sniffing around. You have Gay, who Liverpool are sniffing around. You have Adam Morton, who I think Man United and Newcastle have been sniffing around. Those are three players who are about between 50 and 70 million in sales each. Now, clubs in which?
Morton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But basically, anyway, to get to the point, that's three players who are between 50 and 70 million sales each. But if they're in the Europa League, they might go, do you know what? We got here. Let's go be icons.
Let's go have a crack at it.
Let's go have a crack at the Europa League, have a good time. And I'll get my deal. I might get a deal to a bigger team on the continent next year, having shown my shit in Europa as a starting player versus maybe going to an Arsenal and rotating in and out.
Yeah.
Gucci, whatever, do whatever you're doing either direction. But you've got three fellas there whose careers essentially are in limbo pending what the club can do, pending. And then you have Forrest over on the other side going, little puppet master. Your man that owns them is a nutbag. Like he lives in his own little planet. What a Nottingham Forest got 2 active cases now essentially going on in the background. They're just not Morgan Gibbs White and this. They're just like, we play our own game.
Yeah, that's the lad. That's the owner who went on and had a little bit of a
yeah.
And it was all about concern for an injured player, of course.
Oh yeah.
It took a couple of days to clarify that. Because obviously the truth takes a couple of days when there's a simple explanation. It takes a couple of days to get a press
but this is like there's so many layers to this, which is why I'm just get it done, let the lads go on, because like a team like Drogheda, it's like seriously, like if this all gets settled, then Drogheda have a case then to go back in and go, well, it was grand for them.
Yeah. So that's what we're cheering for the Irish team, obviously.
Yeah, well, I think it's this case of, if we're going to deal with the multi-club owner thing, it needs to be a situation of every club registers their board, registers their shareholders, and goes, all right, what's their percentage? What is their level of control? What's their level of involvement? But then that also has to be backed. And as Gary said, if there's any proof at all, so the club should all run independently, and the financiers could basically put their people into each company. If you want to put it like this, hi, I own this company, I'm going to hire my management team over there and over here, and then I'm going to stand out of the way. That's fine. That should be fine. But if it is shown that these guys are doing some shady shit between them, everybody's out.
Yeah. I have another suggestion, and it's really simple. I saw this thing the other night, and it looked like a different way of doing football. And I think UEFA could stand to gain a lot from it. So basically, you had like a halftime show and big walk-ons. And there was only one anthem, and it was the American one. And then at the end, the president pretends he's one of the players.
That was weird.
He's a weird guy. And that's the kind of thing I've ever said about him. Let's just take the moment, shall we? And say, well done, Chelsea. You won the World Cup.
We'll talk about the Club World Cup properly next week when we've had a chance to digest it. But for now, Chelsea, you won a competition nobody cares about, and got a shitload of money in doing so. But anyway, Gary.
And did you see who got that third goal? The
We
trap
did, but he
himself.
doesn't belong in a. He's not down that part of the world anymore, so you're not allowed to love him.
You're not
Anyway,
allowed to. Well, we'll talk about him next. We'll talk about him next week.
Oh, we will.
We will.
Open the robe, Gary. Dim the lights. Pull down the blinds.
show us your numbers, your dirty, dirty data.
I was expecting something really, really kind of
Your
French.
data.
Yeah. Just
I
with
know
the day that's in
the
the down,
I know the
disappointing me.
exact song you're thinking about.
Yeah. You've disappointed me again. But that's okay.
That is
That's
the name
okay.
of my that will be the name of the tape.
It's a good name.
Upsetting
Good
and
name.
disturbing. I love it.
I love it. But yeah,
Anyway.
it's time for the GVC. It is the GVC. And this week we're looking at Burnley, newly promoted Burnley, and Newcastle. And as always, we look at 3 players on each team. One who you definitely want to consider, one who you want to avoid, and someone who might be a little bit of a wild card. Those kind of players that we like to pick up and shout about that we've made such a good move that everyone else is jealous. So yeah,
Like
let's
walking
get
through
into
the nightclub at 2 a.m. and just getting straight out the front door and giving the lads a nod as you get in the taxi.
that's it.
The wild card.
The wild card. So yeah, we've got Burnley and
I
we've
don't
Newcastle.
know. I'm tired. Don't be looking at me like this.
Listeners, I would like to apologise for John. But you're probably used to him at this stage. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Burnley. Yeah. So your top pick is probably a fairly obvious one. It is James Trafford. If he stays there, of course, he may not. Because there has been.
Do you think he's actually the absolute nail on here? Like,
Well,
Burnley are going to concede.
You've got to take it in context, though. I mean, Burnley nearly promoted. We all think they're nailed on to go down. If you're looking at their squad, who's going to get you the most points? It's probably going to be someone like Trafford, who is going to be busy, who is a very, very good shot stopper. He has Premier League experience previously with Burnley. Okay, he had a bit of a shit season, but he had a really good season last year. Coming back up, a little bit more experience. He's 2 years older. Do I think you're going to pick him? Do I think he's going to be in the top 5 keepers drafted? No. But in context, when you're looking at the Burnley squad, he's the one you look at. Outside of that, there's not much. It's pretty slim pickings.
Really? I disagree, though. I do disagree.
Who's your pick?
Like the nail on.
Yeah. Don't say Kyle Walker.
Why not?
Don't say.
Why not?
Don't do it. Don't.
But seriously, why not?
He is my player to avoid.
I don't think so.
Oh, no. So he's just come back from Italy after a pretty shit spell at AC Milan.
It wasn't.
He was pretty shit. He's what, 35 years old?
35.
He's 35, right? Brilliant defender for City, brilliant defender for Spurs. Absolutely, but his weapon was his pace, right? Both of those teams played very, very high defensive lines. How he made his name was being able to get back. He was blisteringly fast, right? At 35, he's going to lose a yard of pace. There's no two ways about it. This just happened. Old man time catches up with us all, unfortunately, as you can see with the grey. It's going to catch up with Kyle as well, right? Burnley are not going to play a high defensive line because if they do, it's football suicide. It's just not going to happen, right? So the system that he is joining and the age that he is at, he will not be as effective as he has been previously. I know, and I love a defender who comes in from abroad, particularly if they're a fullback. You know this, John. I love them more than anything else when drafting. But this is one you cannot fall for. You can't do it. He will break your heart.
See, my thinking is he's from the area, right? So he's going to be living near home. He's going to be near his kids and family again, like he wasn't when he was in Italy. He was a very, very good servant to Man City. Yes, Jimmy, he does have many, many kids. We don't need to. I was just going to breeze past the fact that he's a bit of a shitbag, but just a little bit. But he's a good. But if we're just looking purely at numbers, I think my thing with Trafford is I completely respect what you're saying. I do, But I have this thing of looking at someone like Kyle Walker, who is going to be on the pitch as much as possible. He's going to be a player that a lot of these guys look at. I think he's going to bring something to that dressing room. Like, he's about 2 years younger than Scott Parker, who's the manager, bless him. But like, Axel Tuanzebe brings a little bit of Premier League experience in there. They have Brun Larson, who they bought after loan, I think last year, wasn't it? They brought in 10 players. Like, they have Marcus Edwards as well. He's the guy I've been championing for a bit. Haven't seen him a couple of times over at Sporting, and the fact that he's Spurs Academy. Like, do you know what? I'll give it to you. There's a few wildcard options. Let's say I'll cave. I'll give you Trafford as your pick.
Yeah, Trafford's the top pick. Walker is the one you have to avoid, though. You absolutely have to avoid it.
So disagree with that.
It'd be great to see you draft him and then, crash and burn when you do. But you're right. To be fair, you're right, though. There are a couple of wild cards that you could look at for Burnley there. Bernd Larson was the one I was looking at. He scored 6 and 16 the last time he was in the Premier League with Burnley. He's a permanent signing now, so they've obviously seen enough in him to make that permanent. So the numbers, when you look at the numbers, Bernd Larson is the one you should look at. I'm actually going on a bit of emotion here, and I'm not taking him. I'm looking at Hannibal Medri instead. Former United player, Hannibal.
Yellow card walking. Good, superb player.
Yeah. Good player.
Yeah, but I mean, look, if we've just gone through the numbers, and I just think he has a little bit more about him in there that he can actually get you. Now, again, you've got to take this in context. Are you drafting him in the first 5, 6, or 7 rounds? This is a fill out your squad pick. I would have loved to say Josh Cullen. Just throwing it out there, I would have loved to say him.
Cards.
What about
but no, you can't. Look, his level is championship level. It's not Premier League. He was found out the last time, which is why I'm looking at Hannibal instead. Would
you consider Obafemi? Out of curiosity, he's there.
I just think no, and the reason being, I just think anyone kind of playing in those kind of wing forward positions for a club like Burnley, they're just not going to do the business because they're not going to get enough possession.
True.
I think it's someone completely different for me, and I think there's value in a veteran who knows the Premier League and has been up and down with Burnley and stuck with them. And I know what you're saying about Josh Cullen and being found out for a championship player, but Josh Brownhill was always handy for a few points. He's rarely absent. He did an awful lot of goal scoring for him last year. I know against championship teams, fine, and he'll probably have a freshly bought in striker in front of him this year. I just think, with a view to the fact that most of the Burnley picks are going to be in Draft Classic, where you have a bench, whereas head-to-head, you're not going to be picking Burnley players unless you want your fucking head examined, right? It's just not going to happen. These guys are mostly going to be on the bench, and what you want from the bench more than anything is consistency. Just no zeros off the bench. Have someone who's there. Don't mind this thing of, he did his ACL, I'll just hold him for 6 months. That doesn't work in Draft Classic. You need points from all 18 of your players. And reliability beats everything. It's the Hippocratic Oath of first do no harm. First get a guy who's going to play. For me, that's Brownhill still. Even at 28th, I think it's peak years for him. If he's ever going to be a Premier League player, it's this season. If he has ever been a Premier League player before, it didn't really show, but he wasn't terrible, and that's the best you can hope for from Burnley. Trafford, I think, is the obvious pick. And I think we had said so when we were talking about goalies a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Trafford is the one to watch. But I
do think they do have a couple of players. Like the numbers I rattled off a couple of weeks ago about Marcus Edwards, his running numbers, his aerials, his pass rate, his tackles as a winger. I've seen him. He's a good player. He's my sleeper agent of the season. They got him for about 10, 12 mil. He's a right winger. He's played in the Spurs Academy for a long time, so he's not going to be alien to English football. And he was playing in Ruben Amorim's Sporting team. He's a starting player in that team. He's coming back home to England. So I'd be interested in seeing what he gets up to. Kyle Walker's obviously an outside bet. And then outside of that, but again, these are picks that you're using for your 13, 14, 15.
If you've got 2 Burnley players, lads, we need to talk about how you're drafting. Because consistently promotion has been relegation. Leeds are a bit of a special case, and I'm looking forward to seeing them right before kickoff for the season.
But you're on the opposite end of the scale of where you're going to be smattering. where one of this last season's League legends came from. The home of Fabian Schär, the real heart of the North.
The greatest player that ever, Fabian Schär. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are times in my life. Gary, look, you can introduce Newcastle, but I just need a moment on Fabian.
No, you work away, sir.
Can I call him Fabian? Listen, Fabian, there are times in life when we all feel low. We've all been through the dark times. And, you know, some people find solace in family or religion or sport. But I just look at my poster of Fabian Schär and remember every single week he plays, he costs 15 points. And that means more to me than anything else.
It's not even that every week he played, he lost points. Every week he played for Dean. Anytime he got transferred off to someone else, it was class.
He was brilliant with. I had him for 3 weeks, and all he did was score, and I gave him back to Dean, and he started kicking himself in the shins again. Gary,
Yes,
Newcastle time.
it is Newcastle time.
What?
They're busy. They're busy.
They are busy.
Did you see that they dropped a bid for Hugo Etiquette tonight?
They have, yeah, but just below the release clause, I believe.
Is scandalous for him.
Well, yeah, it is to be fair, but to be fair, Frankfurt know how to sell strikers. If you look at the list of players and strikers that they've sold over the last 5 to 6 years, it's insane. But we can talk about that another time. But this actually kind of changed. Well, it didn't really change my top pick. Your top pick is obvious. We all know it's Isaac. It's that simple. Really.
Yep.
We'll get back to that in a second because I think we're going to pick somebody who I think is one of my wild cards. But we'll get back to that in a second.
Nick Pope.
It's who?
Nick Pope.
No.
No.
Look, your top pick is there's no explanation needed. If Salah wasn't doing what he did last year, Isaac, whatever you want to call him, he wins Player of the Year. In 23 goals, 6 assists, 34 games, that's like a super, super return for a striker. So yeah, he's your nailed-on pick. He is potentially a first-round draft pick. Jimmy, I know you're probably going to say one of the big lads at the back, but we'll get to that.
I'm going to straight up agree with Gary. I think Isaac is going to be, well, for a start, he's our potato, Isaac, whatever you went in front of him. It's good. Yeah. But anyway,
he's at Newcastle. He may not even be at Newcastle.
He's a round one drafter this year.
No, yes. There's a reason. You're wrong, and there's a reason, and it's because it's draft. You see, it's all well and good saying he's a round one pick.
He's a round one pick.
No, he is a round one pick. He absolutely is. All day long.
Because round one is going to have 10 or 11 picks in it.
Which he will be in.
No, because hear me out. Shut up, John. There's how many strikers that will outscore him that are higher tier? He's not going ahead of Salah. He's not going ahead of Haaland. He's not going ahead of various others that we've moved from mid to forward, now that they're forwards, and they actually always were. Which means that if you pick Isaac in the first round, you are going to be, unless you're one of the first couple of picks, you have the choice between a second tier striker or a first tier anywhere else. And I'm telling you, first tier anywhere else.
I will run the first 10.
Did Jimmy just call? Sorry, John. Sorry to interrupt you there, but did Jimmy just call Isaac a second tier striker?
In terms of the first round pick, yeah, I absolutely did. If you start following the positions of the guy in front of you, you are guaranteed to draft weaker players than the guy in front of you. If someone gets to the best forwards first, you fucking jump on the best mids. Because if you go for the second best forwards, by the time it comes back around, that guy's taking the best mids, and then you're following him all night. It's the same as starting the goalie run. If you pick the first goalie, brilliant. If you don't, you better damn well get on board.
I agree with that logic. I totally get where you're coming from.
He was 10th last year.
But you do not put Isaac in as a second tier striker. He is.
The numbers are.
No.
Okay, where does he rank for strikers?
I haven't gotten. I actually, because Isaac is such a nailed on pick, I actually didn't get into the numbers. We may need to do that on another.
He is 5th in the strikers.
Okay, so if we're drafting right now, I will tell you, you're going to have Salah who'll go first, Haaland will go second, Bruno and Saka will be 3 and 4. Not necessarily in that order. I'm just picking your top 10.
Yeah.
They're going to be 4.
He'll make that have
Isaac will be then.
But it's a situational draft. It's a situational draft. If you can get him in the first, in the first 3 rounds and set the tone for the strikers and pull the legs out of someone because you don't think Chris Wood or Erling Haaland are going to come to fruition, yeah, go for it. Absolutely. He is the best player for Newcastle, but you have to consider more than that when you're drafting. And if you jump in on him late in the first round, you have missed your chance to get a better differentiator in a position where you can dominate. That's my logic.
I don't think he's there towards the end of the first round. I think he goes top 5.
Maybe. People are hung up on forwards. And I think that's why.
I think he goes late. I think, well, he was 10th pick last year. I think he'll be in and around 7 to 12. He'll be in
whoever does it is making a mistake. If the other big name strikers are gone, they're making a mistake.
Themselves. The top 5 players are literally going to be Bruno, Saka, Salah, Haaland, and a fucking outlier.
Possibly Palmer.
Palmer. Yeah. There's your 5.
Almost definitely.
Yeah.
So what do you do then?
The other thing,
do you then go for the next striker down, or do you try and get the best defender and the best goalie while everybody's watching somewhere else?
If you're looking at one of the best defenders, nobody's going to pick Andy Robinson, James Tarkowski that early.
And that's their mistake.
I can't wait to see you get number 7 in our draft, Jimmy, and take James Tarkowski as your pick in the first round.
7, man. I hate 7. 6 and 7 are the worst, aren't they?
They are the worst, but I can't wait to see that happen.
Sorry,
I will sit on draft night waiting for you to pick James Tarkowski at number 7.
I will fight a man barehanded in the car park of a pub in Bristol to get James Tarkowski. That being said, I've completely derailed you there. I'm sorry. Isak is the best on paper, but if it comes to draft, lads, we got to start thinking about draft. It's that time of the year. He may be a poison pill for the rest of your team.
I just openly disagree with you.
Yeah, so do I.
He's a first-round draft pick. Anyway, who are we avoiding?
We're avoiding Sven Botman. We are avoiding Sven Botman like the plague. Now, I have a bit of a soft spot for Botman because when he plays, he is phenomenal. When he plays, he averages 8.5 points a game. He is just an absolute rock at the back. The problem with Botman is his injury record. So you will hear a lot of noise coming out of Newcastle going, oh, he's back, he's fit, he's ready to go, blah, blah, blah. And you will look at him and go, top defender. And that makes sense, again, on paper. But when he starts playing and you start looking at his injury record last year, he came back. Oh, he felt a little pain. Oh, he came back. He felt another knock. Those games that he missed just kept racking up and racking up and racking up. It came off the back of a pretty bad knee injury, but it just seems to be little niggle after little niggle after little niggle as well.
I would agree with that. The only other one I would have thrown in there wouldn't have been many. If I was looking at their starting team, the only other one I probably would have looked at and gone, "Ooh, maybe not." Newcastle have a very good. They're very nice draftable players, if you get me.
Yeah.
Like Memento is a lovely draftable. Lewis Hall's a lovely draftable. Cher, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali. The only other one I can look at and go, ooh, sneaky, avoid. Harvey Barnes and Joelinton. Harvey Barnes, it looks like he's being replaced by Elanga.
Yeah.
And Joelinton does an absolute rake of work.
I thought Joelinton he finished in the top. He's finished in the top 15, if I'm right, Jimmy. 14th or 15th before he finished. I was shocked when I seen the numbers, to be fair.
He got 10.1 per game last year. The only difference was he missed 10 games, right? Now, he does have a yellow card problem, but for context, he outscored per game Jacob Murphy. He outscored everyone else on the Newcastle squad except for Isaac and Dan Burn in per game points. And it's not like this was a one good game from a 16-year-old. He was there for 29 games. If you put another 10 games on at that rate, he's their second highest scoring this year, and he's a top 20 overall. I don't like the guy. He's much maligned by all critics that he's not a great footballer and he's not great this and he's not great that.
I love watching him. I think he's brilliant. I just think he loves the yellow card. I would have Bruno Guimaraes and Tonali myself if I was looking at the midfielders.
Yeah. But Guimaraes, the thing about Guimaraes is he's 2 points a week short of most of the team. I think there is a massive misconception out there that Joelinton is bad and Guimaraes is good. The numbers actually say Joelinton's better. And if he can stay healthy, he's my wild card. But he's not my first pick for Newcastle. My first pick for Newcastle might not be at Newcastle next week. It's really obvious. And again, think draft, people. You want the best players in every position, not just the strikers.
It's Dan Burn, isn't it?
Nick Pope. It can't be anyone other than Nick Pope. a goalie getting 8.5 points a season, and where he's headed is a team that are spending and battling relegation, who might pull it off, who are going to be busy at the back. That's where he's going. If he goes to Leeds, he could break 10 a week this year at Leeds.
That Leeds talk has really slowed down actually in the last week.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Can I have Isaac instead? So. Dan Burns, another strong pick. Again, nailed on centre half. Does the do, gets a bit creative. Lots of points there. 10.99 per month.
Yeah.
My sleeper this year is Livramento. He grew into last season so well from the start to the end. He was behind Trippier at the start of the year. Finished the season as the first choice. He's going to be strong from the get-go this year. He's my wildcard pick.
I've danced with Livramento several times in the past, all the way back when he was a shit-hot up-and-comer at Southampton, when Southampton were still a team. And he's broken my heart too many times. I'm not going back to him again. I can't do it myself. Give it a year if he comes in full-time, but not right now.
Fair. I have to agree with Jimmy on that. So I actually on the wildcard, I had 3 ones that I was tossing around with, and I ended up landing on Joe Linton for the reasons, Jimmy, you've just gone through as the wildcard. Everyone thinks he's shit, but the numbers actually say otherwise. The other 2 are Lewis Hall and Dan Burn. And again, they're 2 players who, when you look at the defenders, if you think top quality, big name, Premier League defenders, those 2 boys don't enter your head. It's your Van Dijks. It's your
Saliba,
even your Nathan Collins. They kind of come into it. Hall and Burn averaged 9.6 and 10.9 points a game last season. So they have to be in your thoughts when you're drafting. They absolutely do. But Joe Linton is my wildcard pick purely because you look at him and go, fuck no. I actually don't think he was drafted until round 8 last year, which is shocking considering that he scored so many points a game. But yeah, that's who we have. So for Newcastle, Isak is your top pick. Sorry, Jimmy, you're wrong. Botman you avoid. And then your wildcard could be any one of 4, to be fair. We've all made good points.
Newcastle uber draftable.
Yes, they are.
They are.
And interesting, we're getting into even more uber draftable teams next week, because next week we have United and Chelsea, I believe.
That's really dirty. We need
that's going to be good. But it is United Chelsea next week. If anybody out there in podcast land has any players that they want to, roll with us beforehand, by all means, do in the comments.
Actually do.
That is the TBC for this week. Yeah. Come and argue with us. We do like when we argue fantasy football with people. By all means,
it's literally the whole point of fantasy football is to
absolutely. Yes.
I mean, this is going to be good.
But Shane for this week. That's the GVC for this week.
I think that's it. Right. So beyond that, that's it for today. Like we've looked at the shit show that is Europe. We've looked at the shit show that is Burnley. We've looked at the sexy show that is Newcastle, and the sexiest show of all, which is Jimmy's spreadsheet. We are super excited to get that app out there. We are super excited for you guys to play the game. Please, please, please get your ass on the waiting list. Get the invite code. Send it to all your mates. Create your league. I don't even want to give too much of the little secret sauce up, but there's some little lovely little triggers and buttons and stuff that you're going to be
merch. There's goodies. Don't forget. If anybody wants to get their hands on some lovely Statr merch, like the Void Cube that I seal myself into until the football starts again, there's lovely merch if you donate to us on Indiegogo, because we're lovely and we need money so we can keep building the things. And soon you will have the thing, whether you donate or not, and you will go, oh, those guys did really well. I should throw them a few quid. You should. And if you'd like to know how, you can go to which website, John?
StatrDraft.com.
I love when he does that.